Bullets slammed into the dirt around the Navy SEALs as they crawled behind a stone wall that was cracking under fire, and Lieutenant Hale shouted for his men to stay low as 30 to 40 enemy fighters surrounded them from higher ground, rifles popping from every direction, smoke rising from burning brush, and 2 men already bleeding beside him while the others were almost out of ammo. And the radio just gave static. No backup, no evac, no way out. And Hale knew they were being hunted, boxed in with no cover, and death was just minutes away unless a miracle happened. And then it did. A single, sharp sniper shot rang out from the far ridge, cutting through the noise, and one of the enemy gunners on the cliff flipped backward with blood spraying from his head. And for a moment everything froze, just long enough for Hale to whisper, "Who the hell was that?" before another shot came, this time hitting a machine gunner in the tower, and then a third. Dead center, dropping a man behind a log shield. And Hale's team looked at each other in shock as another body dropped and another. And within seconds, 5 enemies were down from perfect headshots coming from somewhere in the mountain brush. And they had no drone, no support, no backup. They weren't expecting help, but someone unseen was out there watching the whole time and stepping in. And while the SEALs stayed down, listening and waiting, the hidden sniper kept shooting, so clean, so fast, that even the SEALs stopped counting. After the 12th enemy fell, and by the time 15 were down, the rest of the enemy fighters began to panic, yelling in their language, running behind rocks, firing wildly into the hills. But the sniper was calm, steady, taking them one at a time like ghosts, and when it finally went quiet, Hale lifted his head and saw bodies everywhere and when moving through tall grass but no sign of who saved them. And then his comms buzzed, not from HQ, but a strange open channel with just a short message, "Move now." 3 minutes before enemy backup, and that was it. No name, no code. And Hale didn't question it, just ordered his team to grab the wounded and move fast through the ravine toward the evac point. And on the way down, they passed shell casings that looked old, rusty almost, but were still warm, and a tarp in the grass half covered by rocks. And someone had been there, lying low, eyes on the whole battlefield without ever being seen. And when they reached base later that night, after extraction, Hale reported what happened. But the officer in charge said no snipers were deployed, no missions active, and no operatives assigned to that sector. And when Hale insisted, they said it must have been a drone or misfire. But Hale wasn't crazy. He knew what a trained sniper sounded like, how their shots landed, how they moved. And these weren't lucky shots. They were the work of someone deadly, trained, and watching out for them. And that night he couldn't sleep, just stared at the note he found tucked into his gear, a piece of rough paper that said, "Your father saved me once. Now I return the favor." And that made no sense because Hale's dad had died in combat over 10 years ago, lost in a mission gone wrong. No survivors, no body recovered. And Hale had grown up hearing stories of that last stand, but never knew what really happened. And the note's handwriting was sharp, clear, with a strange symbol under the words, a small black triangle inside a circle. And Hale asked every contact he knew about it. And one old friend from Delta whispered it was part of a long-dead program called Shadow Viper, where orphaned children of fallen soldiers were secretly trained in high-risk sniper operations. But it was shut down after a facility burned down in Alaska 15 years ago. Records lost, only one survivor rumored to have escaped. And they said she never joined any unit, just vanished, and became a ghost, showing up where help was needed most, saving those she believed were good. And Hale couldn't let it go, not after what he saw. So he asked around in quiet places, old war zones, bar contacts, gun dealers, even black market ex-agents. And slowly the name Ilara Vaughn kept coming up, a woman sniper who never showed her face, only worked alone, with eyes like winter and a shot like lightning. And rumors said she'd taken out an entire warlord camp once and vanished before anyone could even see her shadow. And every time he tried to find her, the trail stopped, until a month later. Hale's team was sent on a rescue op near a collapsed village where 5 Marines were trapped. And the village was full of enemy lookouts with snipers in the hills. But as soon as the SEALs landed, they found fresh shell casings and dead spotters already neutralized, and the Marines were unharmed, even protected. And one of them said, A woman told us to stay low and covered us all night, and Hale just looked out of the hills and felt that same chill. Like someone was always watching, always one step ahead. And back at camp, someone had left a card in Hale's bunk. The same triangle inside a circle and one line. Your father didn't die alone. And Hale sat down, shaking, because that meant someone had been there that night 10 years ago. Someone who saw the truth. And he pulled every file he could on the mission. Redacted pages, broken maps, and finally found an old image from a drone feed showing a young girl crouched beside the body of his father, holding a rifle half her size, crying, but alive, and Hale realized she had survived, taken his father's weapon, and vanished into the world to make sure no one else felt what she felt. And years passed with no official mention of her, just whispers of Shadow Viper or the ghost on the ridge, and then, during a live training with new recruits, one cocky guy laughed at the idea of ghost snipers and joked that if they ever saw one, he'd just challenge her to a duel. And Hale didn't laugh, just watched him quietly, because he knew better. And later that night, the cocky recruit went to check his locker and found a bullet, standing upright on the top shelf with a mark scratched into the side, a triangle and a circle, and nothing else. And he never spoke of ghost snipers again. And over the years, more stories came, missions that should have failed but didn't, squads that were saved from ambush by an unseen hand, and always the same mark left behind. Never a name, just the symbol. And Hale started to understand that some heroes didn't wear uniforms or follow orders. They just protected in silence. And once, when Hale got word his younger brother, also in the military, went missing during a convoy attack, he was terrified. Until 3 hours later his brother returned, shaken but alive, and said a sniper had taken out the attackers before they reached him. And all she said before disappearing was, "Tell Hale he still owes me." And Hale knew, deep in his heart, that this woman had taken his father's death and turned it into her reason to protect others. And that twist, the twist no one else could see, was that she wasn't saving them for glory or medals or orders. She was doing it because she had once been saved herself. And now every life she spared was her way of saying thank you to the man who died protecting her. A man named Captain Rowan Hale, father of Lieutenant Hale, who never knew he left behind not just a son, but a legacy carried forward by a girl with no name, who watched from shadows, who fought her own silent war, and who would never stop as long as good people needed saving, even if the world never knew her name. And somewhere out there, in the hills or high ground above another battlefield, she's lying in the grass again, scope steady, waiting, always watching.